it can feel taboo to have conversations as a performer about not performing. Performing is supposed to be our life. It's supposed to be everything we care about. We don't care about anything else. It is definitely challenging. I think anyone who's performed professionally has gotten to a certain level where they are a master at some level of their craft. They're used to being really good at what they do. And I think it's really challenging going from that to being a novice at something new. You have to be confident enough to be able to ask questions you don't know the answers to. You have to be okay with yourself to not be the master of your domain day one. And you have to be okay with being a little uncomfortable.
Welcome to Recast and Rise, the podcast for performers and creatives ready to explore what's next. You'll hear inspiring stories of artists who reinvented themselves and found new careers after the stage. Let's recast and rise. Tanner, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Eve. This is an honor. I'm so happy that you have this platform. I'm so happy that we're having conversations like this. I think it's really important.
Thank you. Have a lot of fun. I cannot wait to share your story. You were a professional dancer and now you are a software engineer.
Yes.
First of all, can you start with what you were doing as a dancer? Let's start there.
Yeah. So when I was a dancer, I went to school for contemporary dance performance in Boston, and I went to New York after that. And I started with concert dance. I was dancing with the Limón Dance Company. I wanted to pivot out of that. I found myself doing some operas. I found myself doing some regional theater work. Ultimately, I had a big break at the Metropolitan Opera. I really enjoyed that job. And through the grapevine, I also ended up having a Broadway debut. I danced in Phantom of the Opera for a little bit as a vacation swing, and that was really awesome.
Wonderful. That is so great. Tell us more about how you transitioned from being a dancer, which obviously you loved, to being a software engineer. What does that transition look like?
Honestly, when I was younger, I probably wouldn't have expected that so early on I would have made a career change. But COVID happened. And I think a lot of people have a similar story. It's like COVID happened and it put a pause on my performing career. For me, I used that as like an opportunity to find my post-performing career path, because I knew that when I was done performing, I didn't want to teach. And I wasn't really interested in choreography. So I knew at one point or another I was going to have to do this discovery work. So I used COVID as the opportunity to. And I'll be honest with you, it took a long time. I have a list here because it was some prep for this conversation. I wrote down all the things that I did that before becoming a software engineer. And there's 6 or so things on this list.
Yes.
And each one of those jobs, like I learned something that I didn't like that informed my next decision of what I was going to try next.
Okay, let's start with number one. But wait, before that, I have so many questions. I also want to understand the flow. So you were dancing, then COVID happened. We can come back to that, but also how did that happen, that transition? Did you start studying while you were dancing? We'll talk about all of that. But Let's dive into your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay. All right. We'll talk about the transition. In the list of 6 things that I tried during COVID to make money and find a new career path for myself, I started studying medical coding. I was a car salesman. I worked at Target. I worked for UPS, delivering packages and driving the big brown trucks. I got my real estate license, sold 10 houses in 7 months. But ultimately, after all those things, I had a chance to go back to the Metropolitan Opera. I did that, and then I moved on to software engineering.
Okay, you've tried a lot of different things. You were customer service, then driving the truck is obviously completely different. Realtor, obviously, that's also a mix of all the things. You gotta wear a lot of hats. First of all, I wanna go back to dance. That's a big shift.
Yes, that is a big shift, but also the opportunity came at the Metropolitan Opera. If you were in a show one season and the show's coming back a following season, they'll offer you the contract most of the time. So I got offered a contract after COVID and I was like, oh, great. I can go back. I can do it again. However, the challenge was I had moved to Philadelphia, so I had to become a super commuter, and that was challenging. But it was very fun. It was in that moment I got to meet a dear friend of mine who was also on your podcast, Danielle Schultz. We were super commuter buddies.
She is wonderful.
She is.
Ah.
And I will say, actually, conversations on our commute about what to do next, moving forward, how do we like navigate the post-performing life, they were very informative to like basically how I got to where I am now. And I like very much value conversations, and that's part of the reason why I think that this platform that you're building is so important, because it can feel taboo to have conversations as a performer about not performing. Performing is supposed to be our life. It's supposed to be everything we care about. We don't care about anything else. So
absolutely. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that it's making a difference. If it makes a difference for 1, 2, 5, 10 people, that's a huge win. So thank you for that. And I love that you share that this commute made a huge difference, because it's to have those conversations that led to where you're at. I think it's brilliant. What was, beside having Danielle in your network of people that was really helpful for you at the time, what else helped you transition?
Yeah. So I think as I was going through all those jobs that I had just listed, all 6 or so of them, I knew that I wanted to do something that I would be passionate about as well. Like, I love dance. I love performing. I couldn't really imagine doing something I didn't like for the rest of my working career. So I tried following my passions. I have a huge interest in cars. I have a huge interest in like homes design. And so I used that to lead me towards car sales, and I used that to lead me towards real estate. But I found out that for me personally, I'm not a really good salesperson. Like, I can talk to anyone, but I don't like associating my interactions with people with my paycheck. It feels strange to me. Yeah, that was one thing I learned that I didn't like. So as I was researching like different career ideas during COVID, I found this diagram. It's a Venn diagram where you have the 3 different circles and they all intersect in the middle. And one of the circles is what you love, one of the circles is what you're good at, and one of the circles is what pays well. So if you're able to find something that you love, that you're good at, and that pays, you probably found a pretty good match.
I'm very curious. Can you please share how, when you were transitioned, obviously you did 6 different jobs. I personally, I will share this about myself. I did the same thing where I tried many things while I was performing with Cirque du Soleil. And there was a point where I literally told myself, what are you doing? You're such an imposter. You're trying all of those things. I had that realization, and it's not really positive when you talk about yourself in that way. Now, thinking back, I realized that's how I was interacting with that transition. Tell me more about how you felt trying all of those different things. It's not like they are similar. They are complete different jobs.
Yes.
Tell me more about how that made you feel.
Yes, it is definitely challenging. I think anyone who's performed professionally has gotten to a certain level where they are a master at some level of their craft. They're used to being really good at what they do. And I think it's really challenging going from that to being a novice at something new. It definitely is hard on the ego. It's definitely hard to allow yourself to be a beginner again. I think for coding specifically and being a software engineer, it was actually something that was talked about a lot, imposter syndrome. And it's one of those things where my instructors were telling me, it's much better just to ask a question. If you are nervous or you feel like you should know the answer, but you don't, it's much better to actually just ask the question, because ultimately you'll get the answer faster. You won't sit with yourself feeling uncomfortable or like living in that imposter syndrome. And then you'll know the answer, and then you'll be able to move forward. So I think it sounds simple, maybe, but being okay with not knowing everything and not being afraid to ask questions. I think that was like a mindset I had to get used to and adopt in order to feel okay with being new at 27 to all these different industries.
Oh, I totally understand that. I love how you're sharing a lot of great nuggets for us today. Thank you, Tanner. Let's talk about your transition. If someone is interested in becoming a software engineer, where do you recommend them to start? What was your path?
For me, my path, I actually initially went to YouTube. So I went to YouTube and I found a tutorial and I followed that tutorial to build my first website. I wanted to get my hands on. I wanted to understand whether or not this was something that at all interested me. And I knew that reading articles wasn't working because I had tried that multiple times and I put it away to the side. I was like, no, software engineering is not for me. So I followed a live tutorial. I built my first website. It was very simple, but I was really proud of the fact that I did that. And I was like, okay, I have tried enough things where I know they won't work. For software and building this website, I was like, I think this might be a good fit. It's creative. It is a skill that requires discipline that I can continue to build and work on and I can become better at. And like similar to a craft of dancing or singing and performing, there's room to grow. And I was really excited about that. So what I ultimately decided to do was a coding boot camp. And the coding boot camp I did was called Tech Elevator. It was a 14-week program. It was during the end of COVID, so we were all online, but I had a teacher every single day teaching us a lesson plan. And we also had the opportunity to learn about how to pitch ourselves, how to take our prior experience and transition it into something that when we talk with interviewers are transferable soft skills and things like that. How do you tell your story in an elevator pitch? So it was a great quick program, and through that, I got my job.
Okay, this is great. Yeah. Wow. I love this. So okay, everyone, you heard this. There is a way. Yes, you could get a degree, but there is a way to find a role as a software engineer without getting a degree, which I think you ended up getting one, right?
I did, yes.
Yes. So tell us more about that.
I did have a little bit of imposter syndrome when I got my first job.
What do you mean? No, I cannot relate.
I know. I think everyone can relate. And it was so funny because at the coding boot camp, there was people from all different walks of life. I was not the youngest. I was not the oldest person there. There was people who didn't go to school, who were undergrad age. There was people who had been in different careers for over 20 years and wanted to make a transition. So it was a very diverse group of people. It was really interesting hearing their different elevator pitches. And it was also very common to hear them experience that they have imposter syndrome. Yeah, it's just so common. I think confidence is like the biggest thing when it comes to imposter syndrome is you have to be confident enough to be able to ask questions you don't know the answers to. You have to be okay with yourself to not be the master of your domain day one. And you have to be okay with being a little uncomfortable.
Yes, 100%. 100%. Did you get your master's while you were working, or tell us a little bit more about that timeline so someone that would like to follow your path can understand what's possible?
Yeah, I did get my master's degree while I was working. I was doing it part-time, and fortunate for me, actually, the company paid for it. So that was a big win.
Wonderful. That's incredible. Would you say that this happened because of COVID, or it's just standard procedures in the field that you are in?
I think for company to company, it varies. So different companies have different, continuing education policies. And I thankfully got in before budgets got tighter.
Tell us a little bit about the interview process to get the role, to get the job as a software engineer. Being a dancer, and now you have to interview to get a more traditional corporate role.
I was very nervous. The person I was interviewing with, I couldn't read them. I had a hard time reading their emotions, and I'm such a people pleaser. And in rehearsal processes, I'm so tuned in to the director or choreographer. I was just so akin to vibing off of the energy of the people in the front of the room. And for this person to be hard for me to read was challenging. But I made a decision, game time decision. I was like, I'm going to treat this like it's a good friend of mine that I'm just having a conversation with. I said, I'm going to treat this interview like I'm having a conversation with a good friend, crack a couple of jokes, but mostly stay on topic and keep myself composed. And I think that mindset really helped me loosen up and do my best.
Very good. And what do you love the most about your role?
My favorite part, beyond the fact that I'm a part of a really cool team of great individuals, I get to create solutions. I get to think about how to solve problems, bring it to reality, and then ultimately, I get like a dopamine rush once I like figure out how to solve a problem. So it's like just the creation. It uses all of my brain. I don't feel like I'm a soldier in a classroom I just really, the fact that it requires a lot of me and that I feel good accomplishing the tasks at hand.
Yes. And Tanner, the big question, do you miss performing? Do you miss dancing?
It's actually a little complicated for me, I will say. I do miss the community. The community was my favorite part. I love the rehearsal process. I loved being side stage and having all those small conversations. And I did love performing as well, but I'm also really happy with where I'm at now. And I think that it changes what you need out of life. And I'm really thankful for my experience performing. I'm really thankful I got to scratch that itch and live that dream. Yeah. But I'm also really thankful for where I'm at now, and I'm able to have a dog and different experiences. So
yeah. Not to go to bed at 2 a.m. or have dinner at 1 a.m. after the show.
Exactly, yeah.
During that process, was there any moments where you wanted to give up?
I was pretty committed to making software engineering be the last one. But there were some jobs that I did give up on the way getting there. And I think that's okay. I think like you just have to be in tune with yourself. If it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit. The reality is you got to try different things though. And if you try it and you realize it feels like pulling teeth, then that's probably not a good option for you.
Yeah.
Unless you're becoming a dentist and you just want to pull people's teeth out.
That reminds me of the 3 circles: the love, do what you like, and also if it pays well, based on your expectations, obviously. Money can be relative, but yeah.
Definitely.
You know what I absolutely love about this is you tried so many different things, and I still want to touch base on that and highlight how important it is to just try things. And even if it's for you tried a few things for weeks, months for each job? What timeline are we looking at for each?
So I tried to study medical coding for probably a couple weeks, and I quickly realized that was a no. I lost some money for the books that I put in. Car sales was a couple weeks. It was a really toxic environment. Didn't like it. Target was like a couple months, and I just moved on to UPS because I was going to make more money. UPS was a couple months because I was just working a contract, and I completed the seasonal help contract, and I decided I didn't want to stay. Real estate was 7 months. I knew that I had to invest a lot of time and that it was going to be uncomfortable in the beginning. However, even after 7 months and being successful in it, it didn't feel right. So I allowed myself to move on.
Great. Thank you so much. What is next for Tanner?
Wow. What is next for me? Honestly, I'm really happy with where I'm at. I have 3 years in this industry and I want to stay. So keep on working, keep on committing to like building my craft and my skill set. And so that's what I want. I am interested in possibly incorporating dance back into my world somehow, a little bit more than just taking class once a week. Maybe a little bit of that. But
very good.
Yeah, that's basically it for me. Yeah.
I love this. I love that you're slowly maybe thinking of first you're taking classes every week. So that's you're still very much connecting to your craft. Tanner, to wrap our conversation, what would you say to someone that's considering transitioning to a new career or is already in the process? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, I think the advice that I personally could give is just lean into your support network, have conversations, take a little bit of time to brainstorm, but ultimately take action. Try different things. You're not going to get enough information from just thinking about it. You're going to have to try it to get the feedback to know whether or not it's right for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for today. I'm sure this conversation, it made a difference for me. So I can only imagine the impact that this conversation made for a lot of people. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. If you like the story, make sure to share it with a creative friend. Subscribe to this podcast and write a review so more people can access the tools shared on this platform. Follow me on my socials for more tips and tricks to navigate your career change. Until next time, I will see you in the next episode.